With my business, for example, On Call COO, we got to a plateau because I literally could not do any more work. I could not help any more clients. And so what I had to look at is the offer changing. And the offer changed in a variety of ways. The offer changed in that I added business operations managers so that you got a team of 2 instead of a team of 1. And then the offer materially changed again when I hit another plateau in that you actually got a COO other than me. The fulfillment of the offers changed, and that has now led to scaling growth. Welcome to January 2026. If you hit a wall in 2025, you are not alone. You are responsible. Plateaus don't happen because you're lazy. They happen because your business outgrew the systems that you built. And the good news, because there's always good news, is that plateaus are predictable, which means they are fixable. I'm Melissa Franks, the host of the Opt-In podcast, and this is where we go from surviving to thriving in business. And it is a new year. You're not going to get all of those spiels about new year, new you, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But what we are going to talk about today is what happens if your business hit a plateau in 2025 and how to get you out of it. One of the things that we do in my consulting firm, On Call COO, is we help businesses get unstuck. And it can be unstuck in a variety of places, but often the way that they know that they're stuck to begin with is that business has plateaued. In some cases, maybe it's that your gross profit margin has been flat year over year, even though your revenues continue to climb. In other places, maybe your revenue has just absolutely stopped moving. You can't get past a certain number, or maybe you're even backsliding a little bit. Today's podcast is going to break down for you exactly what you need to do to be able to get out of that plateau and engage in growth activities to keep you moving forward in the new year. So the first thing that I want to talk about today is why businesses plateau. Before we get to the actual tactics, it's important to understand what's coming behind it. And what we want to really consider a plateau to be is that it's a signal. It doesn't mean that you failed. It doesn't mean that you're doing anything wrong. It just means that whatever you were doing has run its course, that it has stopped working. Sometimes this is a situation where you need to do more. It's an and conversation. Sometimes it's an or conversation, which means that you need to do things differently. If you've been here for a minute, you know that when I talk to you about planning, one of the primary principles that we always focus on is the do it again principle. And what that is as soon as you hit a milestone, the very first goal is to do it again. If you hit $1 million in business last year, priority number 1 for 2026 is to hit $1 million this year. And often you can do that through the same things that you were doing. In order to get to 2 million or 4 million or 10 million, you're going to have to take different actions, make different decisions, hire different people, move in different circles than you were doing to get to $1 million. And that's the secret sauce to how we overcome a plateau. So here's what a plateau can really mean for you and your business. Perhaps demand is stalled. Perhaps how you fulfill or how you deliver has hit a maximum. Maybe you have hit a wall. Maybe you can't actually do more. Maybe you, the owner, are stuck in a bottleneck role. Maybe you are actually getting in the way of the growth of the business. It could be that it's not you, it's the team. They're overextended. They can't do more. They don't have new creative ideas. Or maybe the business needs new expertise or innovation they just simply aren't equipped to give. And the last one is that maybe the offer no longer fits the market. This is really true in coaching industries specifically, where what is needed changes over time. And so what worked last year may not work this year and vice versa. So you really need to take a look at what you were placing into the marketplace, what you are selling, what the offers are, and make adjustments. This is also true for product-based businesses. There are many businesses that we have worked with that do things like bundle their products together, their physical products together. And bundles may used to sell like hotcakes, and now nobody's really wanting them. And that's because consumer preferences have changed, and you need to adjust with their preferences. Now, one of the things that happens is that often plateaus are misdiagnosed. And here are some of the common pitfalls. Some CEOs think that it's the marketing. Some CEOs think that it's the team, and some owners and CEOs think that if they just sell more, it will solve everything. Sales solve everything. How many times have you heard that? There are very, very prevalent there are very loud famous business coaches out there that say things like, sales always solve problems. Well, not always. It might be that you can sell more. It may be that your team can't do more. And if the team can't do more and you are selling more, you're going to still have an issue. In fact, you'll probably have a bigger issue than a plateau. These are the reasons that the business plateaus. These are the reasons that plateaus are misunderstood. And now what we want to talk about is step one. The first step is to diagnose the true source of the plateau. What's actually happening and going on. So there is a framework that we use when we are looking at plateaus. It's a 4-step analysis. And it's the things that we look at to figure out, to uncover what is happening in the business. And you can do this for yourself as well. The very first view or lens that we are going to look through are the revenue trends. Now, these are the easiest things for you to get because you can get these from financial reporting. So assuming that you have an accountant or a bookkeeper, they can give you the reports that you need to be able to look at revenue trends. I recommend to every small business that we work with that you have your own performance metrics and dashboards so that you have your own data at your fingertips, even if it's not down to the penny accurate, so that you can do this yourself on a dime. But when you're looking at revenue trends, what you want to do ideally is look at a 12-month cycle. If you have multiple years in business, you want to look at multiple years of business. You want to be able to see what's actually happening. When businesses are able to look at 3 years, 5 years, 10 years of historical data, what they're able to often see is where the peaks and the valleys in the business are. You're able to see this is our busy season and this is our slow season historically. And what you're also able to see is when there were one-off situations that are out of the norm. What you want to take a look at is where you are consistently busy. And really note that. Are you consistently busy in the fourth quarter? Are you a business that relies on holiday shopping to make your year? What you also want to look at are the valleys. Are you a business that's generally very slow in the summer? Is that because the people that you serve and support are off on vacations and doing other things and they're not looking for your services and your services are not in high demand? The travel industry is one that's very, very interesting because their peaks and valleys are dramatic. There are buying seasons and there are fulfilling seasons, and they are not the same. And in fact, they're different across the different types of trips that they sell and destinations. Understanding your peaks and valleys is going to be incredibly important for when you start to build the plan to get out of the plateau. What you also want to take a look at is where there are flat lines. So where are the periods where things are just steady consistently? You have a steady stream of revenue and it's just the way that it is. This is the norm, and that's your baseline. And then you want to look at where things declined. And you look at the outliers. So is there one period that declined in one year but it didn't in another? If there was a decline over time, look at that. What you want to really assess is what is happening with your revenue. You want to become the historian of your business. Revenue is the output of operational health, not a marketing mystery. So revenue is going to tell you the truth. It's going to tell you what actually happened. It's the results of all of the efforts that you put into play. So now after you've taken a look at revenue and you understand what your busy season and your slow season and where you flatlined and where you declined, the next thing that you want to do is you want to look at, so lens number 2 is operational friction. Now, this is when you start to take a look inside of the business, what's actually happening. And the easiest way to do this is to take a look at where the plateau started, and you want to assess what happened the 6 months before that. Because the plateau is the result of prior actions. Just like your revenue is a result of prior actions, when you got to a flat line, when you got to a plateau, that was the result of prior actions. So you have to look at what came before in order to understand what's happening now. I know, it's just facts. So look at operational friction. Go back and look at, did we miss deadlines? Did we abandon projects? Did we deprioritize things? What was happening in the 6 months leading up to the start of the plateau? Was the team overwhelmed? Was there too much on their plates? Was quality lacking? Were we slow to make decisions? Were you, the owner and CEO, acting as the bottleneck? How many priorities were on everybody's plates? Were they in conflict with each other? Did the marketing team have a different set of priorities and the operations team and a different set of priorities in customer success? And were they in conflict, which means that they were fighting for scarce resources and nobody could win the tug of war? Was there a lack of delegation structure? Was it unclear who was supposed to be doing what, when, and how the ball got passed around? Or maybe there was poor cross-functional coordination. I just talked about competing priorities, but maybe the handoffs weren't clear. Maybe it wasn't clear what the dependencies were and things didn't get finished to completion. When your business operations are not functioning like a well-oiled machine, ultimately, the growth and performance of your business is going to slow down. And the reason for that is because everybody is distracted. Everybody is distracted and they tend to operate in silos. When there is operational congestion in your business, revenue growth stalls. I want you to think about this a little bit, like traffic. When you map out a course, you get into your car and you put into the GPS, I need to get to this destination, and in your brain, you're like, that's a 30-minute drive, right? And you get in there and the GPS initially tells you it's 30 minutes because it knows it too, right? And then you get on the road, and then all of a sudden you see recalculating. And then all of a sudden you see recalculating. And that 30-minute drive just became 45 minutes. But the problem is you only gave yourself 30 minutes. So now you're 15 minutes late, right? And then it starts to give you alternate routes, but those aren't any faster. And it's like, you just got to stay the course. And then as you're watching the estimated time to arrival get longer and longer and longer, you know that the traffic congestion is causing the problem. That's exactly what's happening in your business when there is operational congestion. And the arrival at the destination is the growth that you're targeting. It gets farther and farther away the more operational congestion there is. And that is because your team is distracted. That is because your team is unable to be productive. They are unable to deliver results, and they are unable to move towards that final destination. Your car cannot get down the road because there are so many bottlenecks in front of it. And so what you need to evaluate in the operational friction lens is, what were all of the obstacles and challenges that your team presented? Where did they fail to move the needle? Where did they fail to meet deliverables? Where did they fail to deliver with quality? What was actually happening in the business? This may potentially be the most painful part of the analysis. And this is often when you need a third party to come in, because the third party sees things you do not want to see. With new clients that we onboard with, we say one of the first things that we do is we go find that closet that they have inside of their business house where all of the junk is pushed when company comes over, and we open it up and let everything fall out. And then we comb through it all, and we kind of do that whole like toss, keep, donate sort of situation with what's in the closet. That's what this operational friction analysis is. You have to look at all the things you don't want to look at, because the reality is that the actions that did and did not happen 6 months before the plateau are what in part created the current plateau that you are in. The third lens that you need to look at your business through is offer maturity. And the reality is that what you are offering to the marketplace can plateau even if it is an amazing offer. And you need to be aware if it's happened. Maybe it's aged out, maybe the market's shifted, maybe the delivery model doesn't scale. This is really where you have to dig deep and say, the thing that I sold to get me to 1 million may not be the thing that I need to sell to get me to 5 million. And that can mean a variety of things. It may mean that you need to adjust your price. It may mean that you need to adjust the components of the offer. It may mean, in some cases, you just need to rename the thing. It may mean that you need to look at how you fulfill or how you deliver, and you need to adjust it so that it can scale. There was one client that we have been working with that the offer needed to mature, and what that meant was that the owner needed to stop teaching and needed to hire somebody to become the teacher. And that was a significant point of friction, not because it was impossible to find a new teacher, but because it required the entire offer structure, the entire model, all of the messaging to materially change. Now, the good news is when the teacher was brought in and the teacher is stellar and the messaging changed and the marketing changed, the business grew astronomically. And that was because The one thing that was a constraint, the delivery model, was resolved. And so now the delivery model can scale infinitely because you just need to bring on more qualified teachers. And so that might be the case for you. With my business, for example, On-Call CO, we got to a plateau because I literally could not do any more work. I could not help any more clients. And so what I had to look at is the offer changing. And the offer changed in a variety of ways. The offer changed in that I added business operations managers so that you got a team of 2 instead of a team of 1. And then the offer materially changed again when I hit another plateau in that you actually got a COO other than me. The fulfillment of the offers changed, and that has now led to scaling growth. It doesn't mean that you have to change everything. It doesn't mean that you need to change the name and the price and the components and the fulfillment approach. It just means that you may need to look at what's constrained in the offer, and there might be an opportunity to mature and make an adjustment so that you can unlock growth in a new and different way. Lens number 4 is leadership maturity. This is very simply you and the other leaders in the organization and how you were operating, steering, directing, delegating, and inspiring your team to take action. I want you to take a look at that prior period. So when you're doing that operational friction analysis and review, I want you to take a look also at leadership through the same timeline and dimension. Go 6 months out before the plateau started. Look at how long it was taking you to make decisions or your other leaders to make decisions. Look at how long the team waited for directions or decisions or outcomes in order for them to take the next step. Are things moving too slow? Are you living in a land of analysis paralysis? Are you in a situation where the lack of speed is killing your business? The next thing that you need to take a look at are the leaders that are not the senior leaders. There are emerging leaders in your team, and what can happen sometimes is that they step up, and you're so grateful that they do in fact step up that you let them just run. And the problem is that they need structure too. When you have emerging leaders on your team, they're actually almost more dangerous than if they just stayed in their role. And here is what I mean. Anybody that's a parent will completely understand this. So anybody that has raised some children, you're gonna get this. An infant is incredibly fragile, right? You're worried about all sorts of things with them. Here's the thing. They can't move. So as long as you put them somewhere safe, they stay safe. A toddler, however, they're dangerous. They can climb things, they can run, and they have no sense of danger approaching. And they have all of the confidence in the world that their 2 little legs can get them where they need to go, and their arms can pull them up, and they can put things in their mouth, and they can do all the things, right? They are so confident. They can end up in grave danger with that level of confidence, and that's exactly the same thing as your emerging leaders. They have all of the trappings to do all the things. They can walk, they can run, they can think, they can talk, they can delegate, they can whatever. They just don't have the experience. And so they still need structure. They need boundaries, they need expectations, they need to understand how much authority they have, they need to understand how much autonomy they have. So what you want to take a look at is, did you allow people to take on additional leadership without the appropriate guardrails? That can send confusion into the team. It can lead people to following things that shouldn't be followed. It can lead people to taking action on things that are not important. And ultimately, it can lead to a plateau in your business if left unchecked. The next thing that you need to look at is you. You need to go 6 months back, and you need to pay attention to what you were doing daily. How were you spending your time? What were you doing? What tasks were you doing? What meetings were you taking? How were you spending your time? It's possible you were too deep in the business. It's possible that the plateau occurred because you were not focused on growth. The thing is that everybody is going to follow the leader. And if you are focused on perfecting internal processes, if you are focused on customer success, if you are focused on the current business that you have and you're not focused on growth, do you know what everybody's going to focus on? The current business that you have. You are leading the business, which means if you want to head in the direction of growth, you need to spend your time moving in the direction of growth. If rather you want the business to stay in this plateaued, stuck place, then keep doing you, boo. Stay in the weeds. Stay inside the business. Stay doing minutia and tasks. You need to look at how you are spending your time to understand how your team is prioritizing their time. If you're focused on growth, so are they. If you are running for a big goal, so are they. If instead you've buried yourself in the bowels of the business, they're going to do the same thing. And your business is going to plateau or shrink over time. And then the last thing that you need to look at through the leadership maturity lens is undefined ownership. What in the business doesn't have an owner? What in the business is just kind of hanging around for somebody to pick up and take care of it when they have the time? What in the business is ignored? That could actually be causing growth to stall. That may, whatever that is that you are ignoring, not paying attention to, not dealing with, not solving for, could be your Achilles heel. You know what that is too, by the way. Every business owner does. I know exactly what I'm ignoring, and I have a goal before the end of the year to stop ignoring it. Everybody knows what they are ignoring. And it is your opportunity to really look at it and say, if I paid attention to this and I solved it, or I implemented it, or I did whatever, would it reverse the plateau? Okay, so now that you've done the analysis, the next thing that you need to do is you need to fix what's actually broken. The corrective path really follows these steps right here. The first step of the corrective path is to tighten your operational spine. Sit up, improve your posture, get operationally sound. You're going to do that by ensuring that there's a weekly cadence of activities, meetings, status reports, and updates. You're going to make sure that your leadership team has a monthly rhythm. How are they communicating to each other? How are they setting priorities for their team? How are they communicating results? What standards are they being held to? And what metrics are they reporting into? You are going to reduce your planning cycles to focus on 90-day sprints. What can you get done in 90 days? And you're going to heads down work on that a quarter at a time. 12-week year. Do not set lofty 12-month goals. Break them down into 90-day sprints that everybody can understand, take part in, and have measured success before the 90-day mark. And then the last thing that you're going to do when you tighten your operational spine is that you are going to standardize your core functions. You want to ensure that operations, customer success, marketing, communication, whatever it might be, sales, all has core functions and processes to follow. Things are repeatable. Everybody understands their roles. They have job descriptions. They know how performance is measured. As Brene Brown says, clear is to be kind. Get as specific as you can so they understand the expectations that they can perform to their best ability. The next step to fixing what's broken is to refresh or rebuild your offers. We walked through some of the things for you to take a look at. When you refresh or rebuild your offers, what you want to keep in the line of sight is how can you improve your margins? Do you increase the price? Do you decrease the cost to fulfill? So take some things away. Figure it out. The next thing that you want to do when you refresh or rebuild your offers is simplify delivery. How much more simpler can I make it to deliver, to fulfill, to have the customer or client get the end result that they're paying for? Get really, really clear on the value that you're communicating. How are you going to position it? What are you going to be telling the marketplace? What trends are you hearing? What do you think would trigger a buyer and encourage them to take action and partner with you or buy your goods and services? And then the last thing when you're rebuilding your offers is look for automation opportunities wherever you can. If you have a process for it, you can automate it. Make sure that their repeatable parts of your fulfillment are on a loop, an infinite loop that's as automated as possible. What that is going to do is it's going to give speed to the end client or customer. It's going to give you peace of mind that every touch point is taken care of. And it's going to give you the ability to know with certainty that sales handoff to fulfillment goes seamless every time. If your offer requires you to scale, it's not scalable. Refine your offer until you take you out of the equation. The third thing that you're going to do to fix it is you're going to build a team that can run without you. Everybody's going to have a job description. Everybody's going to know who they're reporting to. Everybody's going to understand how their performance is measured. They're all going to have role clarity. You're also going to ensure that you have a delegation matrix. Who can assign tasks to whom and who prioritizes those tasks? How does it work inside of the business? You need to think about developing a second in command. If you're not taking the decision, who could in your absence? Who can step in and provide guidance and assistance in lieu of, as you continue to work towards eliminating the dependency on you as a key person, you need to identify who you can uplift in the organization to take on some of those critical decisions, tasks, and accountabilities. Spend your time coaching emerging leaders. As you move towards a business that's less dependent on you, it means that you need to spend more time coaching the people that you want to step up. Whether it's people are already identified as leaders in your business or as high performers that have leadership potential, you want to start spending more time developing your team than directing your team. And a team that can run without you really needs one strong operator. One strong operator in your business can remove 40% of the CEO noise. One strong operator can give you 40% of your time back so that you can go do the things that you love in the business that you're gifted at and grow the sucker. During this step, we'll realize that what they really need is a fractional COO that can take that operational burden off of you, the owner, so that you can do what you're best at in the business. And the last step to fixing the problem is that you must create a growth model based on data, not hope and emotions. You need to create a model that forecasts revenue, forecasts expense, that has data-driven goals, and you must begin to make decisions based on numbers, not vibes. You should be doing this as a part of your annual planning, and all of these activities, all of these things, revenue, expense, goals, data-driven decisions, that happens within the 90-day plans that you developed. And then the last thing that you need to do is you need to develop a 30-day reset plan. So you need to develop a plan to go through the audit that we just talked about. Revenue trends, operational friction, team load, offer performance. Okay? You need to audit those. And then you need to take decisions. You need to identify what's getting eliminated, decide what's being paused, decide what's getting restructured, decide where to invest. And then you need to assess the systems. You need to figure out what cadence you are going to be following for check-ins and leadership meetings and performance evaluations. You need to reset communication. You need to define leadership responsibilities and build a simple dashboard. And then at the final step of your 30-day reset plan is to focus. Choose one growth lever for the first quarter. One thing you're going to do. Prioritize 3 associated actions to that one thing, and then go. Humans remember things in threes. So the best thing that you can do is set one big goal, one growth lever, 3 goals, and have the whole team rally around it and execute. In 30 days, in the month of January, you can do all of these things, and by February, be executing the plan for growth. Now listen, I know that you're frustrated, and I know that you're exhausted, and I know that you are tired, and I know that you are just coming off of a holiday season where either you stressed out the whole time or you were selling the whole time. I get it. The reality is that everybody is looking to you for cues on what to do next, and this is your opportunity to say, we are getting out of this plateau, we are getting unstuck, we are going to have a new experience this year starting right now. And so please know, for you, all the plateau is it's a report card on your business. And report cards, we all know, are a point-in-time assessment of what is happening and will change again as soon as school resumes. Your business is telling you it's ready for its next version. And finally, please know that there is nothing wrong. You're just really overdue for an upgrade. So now is the time. Take everything in this podcast, maybe listen to it again and take some notes. It's time for you to take action. It's time for you to reset within 30 days or less. And then it's time for you to implement the changes in your business. Maybe you've listened to this and you've realized that you're the bottleneck or your team needs stronger leadership. This is exactly the work that we do at On Call COO. If you're looking for support or you have questions, you can book a free consultation call and we can help you determine the next right step for you and your team and how to unlock growth in 2026. You are not alone in experiencing a plateau. It just means that your business is ripe for some change. Good luck in 2026. I hope that we get to speak with you on a consultation call if that's the stage that you're in. And until next time, friends, please know that you are wise, you are strong, and you are capable. And I believe in you.